What is going on, guys? BobbyFi here. Sheets is on his trip, and hopefully he has an awesome time. So it's just going to be me here for this tonight. Maybe Brandon will pop in, but I don't think so. In terms of talking about NFL Showdown, I'm gonna do some things a little bit different. Again, we're gonna be moving to mostly and any site member. Let me know anything you want to change in general, but also how we do these things, because I'm happy to do on these types of small NBA slate, and we have a Showdown NFL slate. I kind of like doing these combo shows, but let me know what you guys think. Feel free to send me anything in the chat and we'll get into it. But I'm going to start off with NBA. I'm going to share my screen and just say what I go about. I actually did pretty well last night, considering that I didn't hit my bigger buy-ins, and I had Paolo in my big buy-in on FanDuel. Otherwise, I think I would have definitely at least cashed somewhere deep, but I don't know. Paolo was my get off the board play, and it clearly didn't work out with the injury and all. But anyway, I'm going to look. So I do things a couple different ways here. And this is just, again, ignore where it's at right now. We're going to have totally different things in a minute. But I did want to go through a couple different ways of doing things. One, on a slates like this, I do think you can use Goldie's projections. Now, wait for him to update it as close to lock as possible. And if you get a different starting lineup, you're going to have to be aware of it. So it's a little risky, but I think it's reasonable to use, at least for the first part. For late swap, I would always use SaberSim, as I mentioned before. But I like to use Goldie as a reference point too for what I do. So I like to go through, it's a small slate, so we'll go through the games. Usually what I'll do is I'll, like on slates like last night, especially when there's a bunch of games later that I like, I'll min-max it more. Today I'm probably going to end up doing a little bit of playing with the projections just a little. So, all right, with that said, let's get into it. One thing I'm sort of surprised that Cleveland's as big a favorite as they are. I get it, I guess. It makes sense. I guess they have Mobley and Mitchell back. But Toronto should, I think this game should hopefully stay fairly competitive. I can't really find anything that really speaks to me on the Toronto side. I know that we get one of these guys going off every day. It's kind of hard to decide which one to go after here. Not sure I'm going to tweak much when it comes to Toronto. This is not a team that I mess around with all that much unless I see something that's glaring. I don't really see it tonight. I think I'm probably just gonna, let the things do what they do. I'm not really loving the Podol idea. I did like Podol the other night when I think it was last night actually, was it? Without Mamu. Mamu's available to play tonight from the last thing I read. Hey, it's good to see you, Joanne. Nice, good evening. Anyway, so I'm not gonna mess around with this. And again, ignore the exposures because we haven't built anything yet. But there are certain teams that I don't mess around with too much just because it really feels like it can come from anywhere at a given time. Maybe you could make an argument that, okay, we can get overweight Scotty Barnes. I can get behind that idea, but I'm not like, there's nothing that I'm just like, okay, I need to change this about Toronto. We can compare it with Goldie's projections. They're pretty close. We don't have the official starting lineups, and that always changes things just a little bit, even if we already think we know what it is. So I'm not going to touch it at this moment, but I will probably lean more towards going towards Goldie's projections once his final projections are run. I think this is a little too low of a projection for Scotty Barnes as a median in a kind of a good pace matchup. I guess that's the best take I have, is that putting him up at 40 instead of the 38 that SaberSim had him at in the 39.7. These changes may not seem like they make much of a difference, but they'll make a little one. That's really the only thing that I saw that I actually wanted to maybe take a shot at on Toronto. And the more I think about it, the more I actually kind of like Scotty Barnes here. This Craig Porter Jr. feels too hot to me. This projection, I like Craig Porter Jr. I'm kind of kicking myself more because we were going to have like 100% of them, and I ended up with, I don't know, like 10%, which was still like maybe 8%, whatever it was. I remember it being above the field, which was like 4 or 5%. But man, he just completely smashed last night. Well, obviously all the guys are back tonight. I really don't like playing DeAndre Hunter, and I feel like he gets over projected. I mentioned this yesterday and felt very good about it. Did not have as much of him as the field, but still had probably more than I wanted. I will drop that projection. I think it's too hot on him in general. And then Donovan Mitchell, I tend to feel gets a little bit under projected, but I don't really have an interest in changing it here. And SaberSim's already got him a little bit higher than Goldie, so I'm just going to leave that one. Jared Allen, this is an interesting one because you've got a big change. I don't know if Goldie's was accounting for that. I think I'm probably going to just leave it for now, but I do want to wait till starting lineups are run and Goldie runs his last projections, which will be done in probably the next, I'm going to guess the next bit or so. Maybe he did already. It's possible. I just haven't not double checking that screen at the same time. When I do these solo, it's a little hard to do all of it at once. So I am going to just double check that the NBA, just let me go by NBA Twitter, and nothing. Yeah, it's Mamu in, nothing special. Colin Murray Boyle out. I don't think there's going to be a ton of hugely actionable items over there. All right. So, all right, we'll keep moving on. Just wanted to address a thing in the chat. All right, we'll move over. So again, I not what I'm going to do eventually. I think I'm going to drop. I don't want 85% Craig Porter Jr. We don't have a ton of value, so I don't mind getting. I don't know. The field is probably going to be like closer to 60% in higher buy-ins. I'm fine with it, but I just don't think I need to play him in every single lineup. I think there's definitely a way this doesn't work out, and I'm not really all that keen on being that high. So I'll probably drop it down to Goldie's projection. And I think Jared Allen, this might be just a little bit too low. Not going to make a huge change probably. And again, as we know, especially when some of these teams are on back-to-backs, we just know even with only two other games, there might just be different news, even if it's just a different starting lineup. So I would rather be overweight, and I don't mind min-maxing the later slate guys as much as I do the early slate guys. So with that said, I think this projection on Okongwu is high. Look, he's obviously a great play. And we are going to drop him down to 37, though, which feels like a more reasonable. We don't need 100% of him. There is a bust path. We're still going to end up with like 75%. And by the way, I'm going to make this number higher because it is going to be higher. That's probably not even enough. Let's do that. Again, maybe in the lottery it doesn't end up going that way, but that's what's going to happen. And because of it, I'll just put like a little 0.1 here. Keep it right around Goldie's, but maybe just a little bit higher than Goldie's, whatever. It's not a huge difference. Guye, again, I don't have the amount of strong takes I would like to have tonight. These are not like my favorite ones to weigh in on. It should be a fairly low scoring night unless we get some crazy news later. One thing I do like to do is I like to be overweight guys like Reece Shea in general. I think there's a lot higher of a ceiling than he gets credit for. And I'm kind of interested a little bit in that. So again, not a huge change, but we're going to do that and see if we can get to a little bit more of them. If I really want to, I can always put a minimum next to him. I think this projection is too hot on Nickeil Alexander-Walker as a median, but I'm happy to get to some of it. I like Dyson Daniels. I play him probably more than most people do, and I always love Jalen Johnson. It does worry me a little bit on the back-to-backs, but again, I think Goldie's number is a little closer to being accurate than Saber Sims. What else do we have here? I guess Luke Kennard is bordering on in play, but for me right now, I'm not getting to it really. It's just it's the nature of the slate. It's crazy how much value we had last night. I can't believe we even had as much as we did. This is again, I'm fine with Nurkic tonight. They did have this is not a back-to-back for them. This is the third and four nights. So I don't mind being like a little bit underweight, but then again, he's not getting the ownership because everybody's playing Okongwu. So maybe I just leave it right around that 34 number. I want to be ahead on Ace Bailey in general. I'm going to keep doing this. I believe in the kid. Don't think I need to change much. I'm probably going to end up above the field as long as I do. If not, I will probably put him in max in. Filipowski is one. They bumped his price up. Not as loving it as much. One thing that frustrates me about Markkanen, as I keep pointing out, is he's playing incredible. He's putting up like the guys who score like 35 real life points and have like 44 fantasy points. Not very exciting. On this slate, we don't really get, beggars can't be choosers. We don't really get to pick and choose. Kevin Love is back too tonight for what it's worth. I don't again, very thin play, but we know Kevin Love can play like 12 minutes and put up like 28 fantasy points. We used to see him like at the Heat where he'd have those games where he'd play like 8 minutes and you look up and he'd have like 30 fantasy points. It's just crazy to me. Really amazing how he's just like lasted through his career, especially with his body type. These all feel pretty fair to me, these projections. Again, we'll see about the min-maxing once we build, and we'll get into football after this. But if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to weigh in. Indiana and Phoenix, both bad teams, back-to-backs. Phoenix is, look, I just don't think they're a very good team. I know that they're now above 500, I believe. Not all that exciting for me personally. Not really loving the Indy side as much. I am going to get into the Phoenix side in a minute. I do like the Phoenix side quite a bit, actually. But I think that we don't really have a whole bunch else that we want to change. Is it the kind of slate where we can get away with taking a shot on TJ McConnell? Maybe something to consider. I'll probably make that decision when late swap comes. And as you can see, I don't want to tweak too many things, but I want to make sure things make a little bit of sense to me. Nick Richards, for this price, what do we have him at for minutes? Because that's the one thing I wanted to know. 20 minutes? All right, fair enough. And again, later game, would rather lean on the higher projection on the later games. Obviously, Goldie's got him at 19 point. Let's just put 19.3. And Jordan Goodwin, this might be a little bit of a hot projection. Not sure I totally buy it, but it is a later game. So I don't need to necessarily make a huge change. Don't need to make a huge change here with Royce O'Neal. Going to drop him a little bit. I like to play Booker more than most people do, but you also have Donovan Mitchell on the slate, and I think that it's a really good conversation between those two. I slightly prefer Booker, but it's really close, and it's mostly because it's later. So I'm going to bump Booker up. I'm going to go back to Mitchell. What do we have him at tonight? I'm just curious. I feel like it's easier from, like, I don't know. They both have a higher. Yeah, it's pretty close between them. We'll make it. Yeah, we'll leave it there or whatever. I don't mind having a little more flexibility just in case we get some late news. So mostly going to leave it there. But Grayson Allen's, if he makes another 10 threes tonight, that would be something. Colin Gillespie's all the way up to 5,100 now. Wow. Look what happens in basketball this time of year. Dylan Brooks price, probably not going to do a whole bunch there. Let's rebuild and see where we're at before we make any decisions. Again, didn't make a bunch of changes. Feel pretty good about doing that. This is probably a little too much of a gap because, well, I'm not min-maxing. So until I put a min-max for anybody outside of what I've got 1% of Craig Porter Jr. And also I think this Craig Porter Jr. number is a little bit hot. But it's not that much. It's just, can we get to, I don't know that I want 100% of it because I could see how this goes completely south and that he like barely ends up playing. And just not really sure about it right now. So let me just do this. Once I'm in max it, I probably will change the minimum maximum salary. All right. Joanne says, hoping for a good night in NFL. Tomorrow is my birthday. Happy birthday, Joanne. We are getting old, but thank you. Good luck to you, and hopefully it's your lucky birthday today. All right, Billy has got a question. Trying to go overweight on Ace Bailey or Svi in the Atlanta-Utah game. It looks like where the slate is won. I think you're probably right about it being where the slate is won. I could be the first game. Could be a game stack of Cleveland-Toronto. But I'm more on the Bailey side than Svi, but I certainly don't mind Svi, and so will most people be. But Svi will be lower owned. I think it's kind of an interesting way to go about it. How do you rank Phoenix outside of Booker? So I just was going through it, and again, sorry, I was going back and forth with the questions. Let me run the Sims real quick. I'm not like, again, this is a weird slate because I don't have like, I usually got a million takes and too many takes that I'm putting my stamp on. I don't have as many tonight. I just don't. I'm gonna rerun this stuff and keep going through. Oops, as we go. Let's go. Did we get it new news or was it just updating the projections here? Let's take a quick look. Make sure there wasn't something that came across while we were gone. Cavs starting lineup. Mitchell, Merrill, Hunter, Mobley, Allen. Nothing surprising there. But yeah, I mean, look, I want to come in, but I don't want to be one of the fake tout people and like, this is what I like to do, and I'm just gonna just run it one more time. I'm not going to pretend to love something I don't. I will probably trust the projections a little more than usual tonight. The one thing that keeps coming back to me is that I could see this Toronto game getting a little wild. Certainly the Atlanta-Utah game, but Utah just spreads it out, man. It just feels like it's a bunch of different guys, and it's really hard from game to game to analyze that. Going back to last season, that's been an issue for me. So it's going to update after I do this. You'll see the numbers change. Yep, there they go. See, we're getting all the Craig Porter Jr. still. All right. I'm not sure I want that much. We'll see what else we got. We're at all the junior and all of the Okongwu. All right. This tells me, let's bump these up. This is off. These are going to be closer to here. And I think Okongwu is going to be even higher. Let's just do that too. Jalen Johnson on a back-to-back with all the injury history. A little nerve-wracking. I think for my hand build, I am going to get to more of the Toronto Cleveland. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's again, it's pretty rare for me not to have massive takes on something like this. I'm going to drop just Jalen Johnson just a tiny bit. Getting all the Booker. Where are we standing with the Mitchell and Mobley? 20%. Okay. Mobley, 53. Okay. I'm good with those numbers. I like those two a lot. And we've seen Devin Booker not quite be, you know what? I think I'm going to drop this number just a little bit. See if we can't get a little more of a similar number between Booker and Mitchell, because I don't have as massive a preference. Usually it would be, I just always go like, all right, look, Booker's got nobody, but you still have Mitchell with no Garland. Yeah, it's really hard for me to just ignore it. And no Garland and no Lonzo. Yeah, okay. Well, I'd like to get a similar number of each. So let's rebuild real quick and see where it shakes out for us. But like I said, I'm using more reliance on the projections tonight than I usually do. Vic Krejci, it's interesting. On a back-to-back, that's probably a little bit more interesting than usual. I'm just going to do something real quick. I kind of like the get different play there. You know, I wouldn't be a game log chaser like because of what's happened, because they've had so many weird situations. But I'm kind of into, you know what? I like the Krejci idea. I'm in. And also, it's a later game where a late swap will take care of some of it for me. Well, sorry, we can decide later. And I'll take care of it later. Excuse me. Let me see where we end up after this. I have a feeling we're going to be a little more where we want. I'm curious if we're getting to any of the Krejci. We're really not, and nobody is. I mean, they do have plenty of available guys. That's the one thing that they haven't had for all of these games. I'm kind of interested, though. I mean, look, I don't need to put a huge percentage on them. I can get 2% or something and be above the field. I think it's going to be better than that. All right, let me just take a look. Krejci, even if it's 16, it's not going to get much. It's interesting. I'm not going to do it in a hand build, but I don't mind getting a little bit of exposure in MME. We did that, and we apply. Did we run the sims already? Let's just make sure we've got all the sims the way we want. And usually I wouldn't want to be so condensed, but it is a 3-game slate. I'm trying to think of more creative plays. What would be, where were we at with Jared Allen? 17% ownership. This number feels too low. I'm going to go more where I feel like. And then I'm going to re-go through everything and before lock and figure out exactly what I want to do. But for right now, I'm probably going to save these and then I'm going to go back to work. I just don't know that we're really like, I feel like with like, when's the last time with Mitchell where Craig Porter Jr. put up a number? It just feels wrong. I know he was awesome last night. Like, something about the play just, I feel wrong with it. I don't know what to say. It feels like a pretty bold move to try to not play the only value or one of the only values we have on a 3-game slate, but I kind of want to do it. I think I'm going to. All right, but let's either way, we're going to save these. We're going to upload this just so I have something in there. I've got all my other tournaments coming up here, so that's why there's no money. I've literally bought in for everything today, so I've got a bunch of things coming up. I might even buy some more actually, but we'll see. All right, all right. Let's talk a little football, because I'll wait for Toronto to update, and then I want to go get out of here and hand build my big one. But I'll talk some football in the meantime. All right, same thing, football. I'm gonna see. We're gonna see what we like here. This is a really tough. I mean, it's one of those games where everybody has one very clear, like, oh, they're just gonna get killed by Green Bay. Just want to remind everybody, it's a division game and it's Thursday. I like the Jets to cover, and I like the under, and that's pretty much what I say every Thursday. And nothing is any different about this Thursday. What is our other Thursday rule? Backup running backs, tight ends are and backup tight ends tend to work. We're gonna have an interesting decision to make with that tonight. Let's get into it. I'm going to just pull this up real quick, and we are going to go, not by exposure, where's my value button? Come on. Did I miss it or something? Did I pass it? All right. Just to make sure what we're talking about as the value goes. All right. Isaiah Davis is I think Isaiah Davis is interesting tonight. I actually really think he's interesting. Oh, wait, don't go. This is the problem. It freezes up when I'm on the air, so I can't do the numbers I want. I don't know if I want to go that high. And again, remember, this is the captain. 9 point, but we'll go a little bit higher than Goldie's got it. All right, so the Jet side first, and then we're just going to do it by projections. We're going to see what we like and what we don't. You can see Goldie's got, wow, it's a pretty hot difference between Goldie's projection and Sabres. And what do they have him as captain owned? Goldie's got him a little bit higher. I tend to agree with Goldie about the ownership. In fact, I'm probably going to import Goldie's ownership once I make sure we get the injury reports and everything. I think it's probably somewhere in between as a median for him. I'll go to 21, split the difference. Breece Hall, I mean, look, Goldie stuff seems to like these Jets a little bit better. And I am going to go just a little bit up on Breece Hall. We'll go to 18.4. I think I am going to end up using Goldie's, a combination of Goldie and SaberSim's ownership. Let me just see. Average. All right. And it's one great thing we have with TrueDFS. You can get different even from other SaberSim users. Mason Taylor, I think this is a little bit of a hot projection. I really don't want to get in. Like, I mean, look, it feels too obvious after what's been happening that don't play the Jets passing game. But they got to, I mean, like, they're not going to throw for 30 yards again or whatever the hell it was. I still don't like it that much. I don't know. Also don't like this projection on Nick Folk. I feel like it should be like, I don't know. I mean, again, this is not the projection. This is remember, this is 1.5 times. But we'll split the difference over there. I have more interest in the Jets defense as the SaberSim, which makes me feel a little bit better because I actually, that was one idea I had coming into the day. And I'm just going to take a quick look. Tyler Johnson, this is a pretty big gap here. I'm not entirely sure why SaberSim has him so low. I guess that makes some sense just because they haven't done anything. I think it's a little too low. And I think we go closer to maybe go a little bit higher. And then Mechie, no problem with any of these guys, but I'm not excited. I think that, what about this? How about this for an Adonai Mitchell big touchdown play? Wouldn't be shocking. Some redemption for me from when I played him against my Rams, and we all know what he did. I actually think that Adonai Mitchell might be their best receiver. I think he is their best receiver, actually, and I think I'm interested a little bit in that play. Again, these are not huge projections. Remember, this is a projection of 4 really for him. So do I think he can get above 4? I think he can. And I want to wait to see if I hear anything. Goldie has a little bit more of a realistic number on Lazard, but again, not a very exciting football game. Look out for this one. This could be a disappointing one for New England. I just have a feeling. I'm going to go a little lower on Drake May today. It's a Thursday game. I think these projections get when they stay the same as they are, and again, you just go to the flex to see what the real projection is. Basically what you're projecting for during the week. It is a great matchup, but I'd actually think I'd like to lean a little bit more on the running game. And that would include both Henderson and Jennings as part of that. I think Jennings might be kind of an interesting sneaky play. All right, let's go through here. Travion. I'm still going to get a bunch of it anyway, but it's hard not to have interest. I think the Jennings, I think I do want a Jennings captain. I think I want a Kyle Williams captain. Where is my Jennings? I just don't think that anybody's doing these things, and I will take some gambles if I have to on these so-called other guys. I don't like old receivers on Thursdays. Look, you can always hit Diggs. I'm going to try and take a stand here against some things. I'm not sure Goldie. I don't think Goldie's updated football yet, so I don't think that Hunter Henry's is quite accurate because I think that SaberSim's got it closer to right without Austin Hooper. And I like the Patriots defense. This is a pretty hot projection for a defense. I don't know how. I don't think we should ignore it. I think we want to make sure we have at least some of it in the captain. And I really think both defenses are firmly in play yet again on a Thursday thing. Matt Collins, we got to have the conversation. I like Matt Collins as a real player, and as a real guy. I'm shocked what Drake May has been able to do with them. It's pretty incredible. I like splitting the difference with the owner with the projection though. I also think that this is a little bit too high for again, kicker, it's a good game. It's a good matchup. Demario Douglas, definitely want a little bit of exposure to that. I always like a little Pop Douglas, and he's one who can just break a play. And we could have another dud of a game. We just had a dud on Monday. We've seen what happens in Thursday games historically. I like this hot projection on Kyle Williams. I'd rather be ahead than behind on that play. Pop Douglas, we'll make sure we get at least one of him in the captain, and I'm going to lean on popping him up since I dropped the others down. And again, we're talking about fractions of points, but believe me, it makes a difference. I also did drop my minimum salary tonight. I actually considered going even further. I don't think that you have to worry about I think there's a really good chance 10K on the table could win this one tonight. I don't think you're going to see this booming. I know the Jets defense is bad. I just don't think it's going to be the booming offense from New England. I mean, short week, all the stuff. We just don't see it happen, especially with young quarterbacks that often. And we'll see if it makes any bit of difference, but I'm going to change the score. Well, I don't know if I want to mess with it, actually. Okay, well, you know what? Let's go a little bit. Let's make it a little bit more competitive. I just think that to assume 30 points, make it 27, okay? And then we'll make the Jets 16, just to make it a little closer. See if it makes any bit of a difference with my builds. Again, just these little tweaks to try and get things to build into the narrative that I'm playing under. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to do the same thing as I'm doing, but that's the way that I'm playing it. If I see a game a certain way, that's what I'm going to do. What's up to Eagles? Jay says, should we captain Porter Jr. to be safe? What are you talking about? Oh, Cat Porter Jr. I think safe is probably just playing him as much as they play him. I think not safe is trying to cap it, but I'm going to go with not safe. I don't know where I'll end up with on ownership, but I'm strongly considering being well under the field. If I were you, I would not mess with it too much, to be honest. There's a lot of other ways that I'm trying to get a little bit other things on this slate, but we just don't have the value. You could get underweight and then hope for news. There is a chance that we get some later news. All right, some more PGs. What is them? Let's see. Yeah, and that's true. It's PG point guard does. It's not like an incredible point guard night. All right, we did get a Toronto lineup. I'll go back to basketball in a minute. Then I'm gonna have to get out of there and build my builds. And again, I'm gonna redo these things. I just wanted to go through a little bit of the process of how it works on smaller slates and showdown slates, and just of how I do things. There's times where I'll take a big stand. You'll see me change a player's number. Like if you change a median projection by 2 or 3 points, you could go from literally having 0% of somebody to having 100% as a captain. It really depends on who it is, but okay, let's see. That's what it ran, but this is what it's got. But I bet you it changes quite a bit. I think I'm going to cap the ownership on Drake May at 22, and I'm going to cap the ownership on Travion Henderson at 21. That's my take. I don't want, and I also think I'm going to cap this even lower on Stephon Diggs. You know what? I like it even lower. So that's going to leave me with some different-ish builds, right? All right, let's see what we got here. And then I'll go back to basketball real quick before I end up getting out of here. But click the like, thumbs up, guys. We appreciate it, all that stuff. And again, those are people who have been members for a little bit. I've gone through this and done the late swapping in basketball. It just got to be a little bit too hard. Basketball is just so hard in general. My advice to everybody: if you don't late swap, don't play. You have no chance to be a profitable player in the long run. But can you win on a given night? Sure. But you shouldn't be playing if you're not late swapping. Also, I really do think you have to try to trust the projections as more and more. It takes a lot of time, and I watch the amount of basketball I watch a year, the amount of football I watch a year. There's a reason why I can tweak things around to try and get what I want. Also, I've played DFS professionally for 11 years, so I'm going to have some instincts that maybe you're not going to have. And I'm not saying that to try and be a braggadocious or anything. I'm just saying that's weird. Okay, let's see what we're getting. So we're still near the field on May and Henderson because I didn't drop it a crazy amount. You can see we're well over the field on Breece Hall, and we didn't even bump his projection up that much. But you're going to have to play somebody if you don't play just the Drake May, Travion Henderson. I'm kind of good with it. I feel good about it. I feel good about Justin Fields as a shot. There's a chance the Patriots could kill him and Justin Fields could still be the highest scoring player. That's completely on the table. Matt Collins, Demario Douglas. This Jennings thing, I think I'm going to sell myself on this. I think I'm going to talk myself into making Jennings a little bit higher even. We're not going to go all the way to 9. We'll make it 8. And again, remember, we're not projecting 8 fantasy points. We're going for this is 1.5 times. I think it's a better play than people are giving it credit for. I don't think it just automatically has to be Travion. I also think people like to save both young and old running backs who are like a part of the core on Thursdays. And I wanted to see one other thing about the backup tight end. This is the play that sort of like I was standing out to me when I thought about Hooper being out, was Westover, because I believe the Patriots third string tight end is not on the slate. I think him having like no projection is that like, oh no, wait, Westover I have that Westover as the backup tight end. Oh, I guess that's who they were counting. We're calling the backup tight end. That's so weird. That's so weird. I don't even know what to do with that. So that's just really weird. Why does NFL.com have him as the backup tight end? I guess that's what we're calling him. Either way, we'll give him a projection of 1, which, by the way, is probably going to give us some of them. Maybe not. Maybe not on this slate. Let's just make sure. Let's just do something real quick. Let me just take another look here. Dearness Johnson. That's the other one that I wanted to just make sure because he's got like no projection, right? Like, yeah, it's almost nothing. These backups, I always want to get overweight. I don't know that I need to play any Westover. Let me just see if Westover's even got any ownership at all in the flex. He should at least show up as a value for me now. This is kind of interesting. Yeah, okay. So I got him projected for 0.67 of a point. Because it's like, what if he just catches the 1 touchdown? And that's like, and like it turns into one of those duds of a game. I think it's completely on the like table. All right, well, we'll put a minimum of 1% of him, or your 0.2. 0.2. We raised this projection already to 0.67. These are small things, guys, but hey, it's what wins. This is one of the ways you can win tournaments. I also I know I'm adding to probably doing a little bit too much here. I don't think we're going to need all of the salary ever. Now, usually I'd say even go lower, but I think it's just going to get there naturally. I just think you're going to have a lot of money left on the table. And I didn't min-max anybody, so I am going to I min-maxed the captains and 1 piece of Jack Westover in the flex, right? Did I put anybody else? Yeah, only Westover. We'll do a 0.2 on Dearness Johnson too. Just again, I just want to have the shot of the one guy. We saw it that 1 week. What was he owned? Tyquan Wallace. Tyquan Wallace was the highest scoring player in the game at 200. And he had like 0.3% ownership in one of the Ravens games. He had 2 catches for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he was the highest scoring player. And literally like 2 people played him. It was ridiculous. All right. So, but you guys get the idea of just how ways to get different. Again, I'll come back to this and I'll rebuild, but you get what I'm going for. What we try and do is we're not talking about plays. We're talking about constantly process and how we try and do things. Sheets does things very differently than I do. He spent a lot of time and years building his projection system, as is Goldie with his. I use a combination, and I quote unquote supposedly am one of the quote unquote no ball guys. I don't like this. I'm going to drop it a little bit more. All right, let's cap it. I'm sold. I'm sold in case something else happens later in the day. I don't need to go any further, I don't think. I really don't think. I think I could like leave that alone and it'd already be different. I really think that Craig Porter Jr. might end up being like a way more popular than this. Dropped his projection. I capped him at 50%. Maybe we even go further. What do we have him for minutes? Let me just take a quick look at something. I mean, you guys got to remember, like the thing about the Craig Porter Jr., it's not like Darius Garland's gone for the first time. I know there's no Lonzo also, and that's the other argument for it. I don't know. He's 3,300. It can't be that fishy. It just feels like something I could find a way not to do. Also, with these guys available, Craig Porter Jr. is not going to have a 22% usage rate. This guy is a very low usage player when Donovan Mitchell plays. I think I'm selling myself even more. We're in on the being below the field. It's going to be like higher than this. We're going to be lower on Craig Porter Jr. And I probably would play him in my big buy, and we'll see how much of him I end up getting. just because I think it's the safe thing to do. I'm not sure it's the right thing to do. I'm really stuck. I'm stuck on my big buy, and I almost might just leave it with what they have suggested here. Osho Ighodaro. So let's just think about Ighodaro versus, just because they're like the same price. I think Ighodaro is probably just as good a play. I mean, I understand why the projection's lower. I think I'm in on that more. And also it gives me some more flexibility. We'll make a minimum of 11. All right. Let's see what we got. Actually, I'm not going to show you what we got because I got to show it to our site members. And look, again, I'm getting a little weird with it, but this is what I'm doing. I appreciate everybody. Hit like on the way out. Anybody who's a site member, I will post my exact exposures for both.